Hello, and welcome to our webinar on scaling ABA organizations with Hi Rasmus and Lumary. I'm Amy Cook, BCBA and Community Manager from Hi Rasmus, and I'm excited you are here. I'm thrilled to welcome you to our webinar where we will be exploring crucial aspects of scaling ABA organizations. But before we dive into the heart of our content, let's kick things off by providing a glimpse into who we are and giving you a preview of what we will cover today. First up, we want to share our story and mission. Following that, our wonderful guest speaker, Jonathan, will share insights on scaling ABA organizations. Moving on, we'll shine a spotlight on how our seamless integration can be a game changer, optimizing various aspects of your organization. This is where technology meets efficiency, and we can't wait to show you how. As we progress, we've set aside time for questions and comments during the Q&A session. Feel free to submit them throughout the webinar. However, we will wait towards the end to answer them. And last but certainly not least, stay with us until the end as we have an exciting promotional offer to share. Let's make the most of our time together. Hi Rasmus is an ABA clinical software company that was inspired by our founder's son, Rasmus, who was diagnosed with autism early on in his life. Our goal is to help deliver the highest quality behavioral therapy services to 1 million children with autism by helping the people who help them: behavior analysts, techs, teachers, parents, clinical directors, and all of you. We provide the best clinical platform so you can keep the focus on the child in front of you. We're seamlessly integrated with Lumary, and I'll let Lexi introduce herself and share a little bit about Lumary.
Thank you, Amy. Hey, everybody. I am Lexi Rand, pre-sales advisor for Lumary and longtime BCBA as well. It's really been a wonderful journey moving from the clinical space to the world of technology here at Lumary. Lumary ABA is an advanced practice management solution, and the platform is able to offer everything from client and employee intake and onboarding through to authorization management, scheduling, billing, and far beyond. Lumary is built for scalability and utilizes advanced reporting and analytics features to support organizational visibility and growth. Here at Lumary, we are passionate about creating a seamless technological ecosystem, and these ecosystems are accomplished through our integrative partnerships with other tech platforms like our friends at Hi Rasmus. Lumary's integrative partnerships allow your organization to create a single source of truth across all of your business domains and allow you to even have greater focus on those client outcomes. I'm really excited to be here today to hear what Jonathan has to say and to show you a little bit more about our integrative partnership with Hi Rasmus. Thanks, Amy.
Awesome. Thank you, Lexi. Now I'm going to hand it over to Jonathan to introduce himself and share his presentation.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to be here with so many friends in the audience, and then with Lexi and Emily and Amy and Rachel and friends on the panel. I'll share my screen and yeah, get us kicked off. Can you all see me okay? Thumbs up? Yes. It's funny, I titled this, "You Can Have It All, Scaling an ABA Organization, Improving Clinical Outcomes and Team Member Experience." And the caveat to this is, I do firmly believe that you can have it all. And it's freaking really hard to do. It's harder than ever. I've been in the field for a dozen plus years, and this is a super hard thing to do. So I don't want to underestimate the importance of what you all are doing every single day, building the strongest ABA organizations committed to high quality services and great team member experience. I honor and I salute you for that. And excited to share. Not advice. I never give advice, but just what I've learned and my experiences over the years. To the degree that that will help, then awesome. These are my two co-founders at Ascend. By the way, I'm a co-founder and co-owner of Ascend Behavior Partners. I'm also a co-founder and CEO of Element RCM. It provides revenue cycle management, billing, and insurance services specifically to autism service providers. So I wear a couple different hats, but let me tell you just a little bit about the Ascend story. My partners, Dr. Mike, far right there, and then Will Bainig in the middle. We started Ascend at the end of 2017. Actually, the three of us were working with a large multi-state ABA provider in fall 2017. They went through a transaction and sold. We ended up getting laid off, and we're like, whoa, what do we do now? And the most important thing that came to our minds is we have unfinished business. We know what quality looks like, and we know what team member experience needs to be. And by golly, we're going to get out there and we're going to build the organization that we always wanted to be a part of. And I'll never forget sitting in my kitchen with Will in fall of 2017. And we're like, you know what? If we put our team members first, they're going to put our caregivers first every day of the week and twice on Thursdays. And so this is a little bit about our story. We served our first client in January 2018 in Texas. And we actually started at the same time, Texas and Arizona and Colorado. If anyone's thinking about starting three different locations simultaneously, I'd encourage actually probably don't do that. We've done that a little bit differently looking back, but it was important. This is where we knew there was a ton of need to be had. We had a unique service model from the get-go, in addition to home-based ABA, which we thought was important. It's the child's natural environment. It's where they can put skills into use most quickly. It's where we have best access to parents for parent training. Dr. Mike, we called him a purple unicorn because he's a licensed psychologist and a BCBA. And so he helped build from the get-go a diagnostic practice, which I don't think about it as diagnostics as much as I do getting parents answers to their questions. This is a really scary time for a family when they've got an 18-month-old or a 2-year-old who's failed an MCHAT and they're like, what do I do developmentally? How do I best help my kiddo? So we thought about this as we're just helping them to get the best answers they could. So we built a diagnosing practice. And then we incorporated a number of years ago, family mental health support, licensed clinical social workers to provide a wraparound set of mental health services for families. It's really hard being a family living with autism. Right now, we're at about 170 team members, and we serve hundreds of clients a year. So that's a little bit of where we are and have been. And I want to frame some of what I'll share in the context of like one of the things I'm most passionate about, and it's like organizational culture. Again, I'll come back over and over to this idea: if we invest in our team and put them first, then they're always going to put clients first, and that will axiomatically result in better client outcomes. So this is part of this was a much longer presentation I did at the Autism Investor Summit a couple of years back. But I'm going to give you like a quick snapshot here before I dive into the rest. And here's a few things that I've learned over the years that I and Will and Dr. Mike have learned. First is measure. Measurement is important, but measure to improve the team, not just for the sake of the numbers. Second, gatekeep for values aligned peeps. Can I say that? Peeps, people, whatevs. So the most important lever we have as organizations is to make sure we're attracting the highest quality, most values aligned, committed to quality folks who are going to deliver those services to our kiddos. Values are not something we put on a coffee mug. I mean, that's fine if you want to do that and put it up on like screens around the your clinic or elsewhere. But I think values are most profound when they're personalized and they actually mean something to team members, and you pinpoint behaviors that tie to them. We always think about it's not about us. It's not about Ascend. It's not about like us as owners. Everything is about our team members. So we make them the heroes of their own story. This whole idea of organizational culture actually to me is like slippery. It's hard to define. It's hard to figure out and pinpoint. And so I don't think about culture. I think about creating communities. And communities, cultures are slippery, but communities are sticky. And finally, this idea that communication moves at the speed of trust. So these are like 6 frames that I have for how I think about building the strongest organizations that ultimately result in quality. So let's get and drill in a little bit more on the importance of measurement. Peter Drucker, management guru, who's been around since the 80s. He has this great expression: what gets measured gets managed. And that's very true. There's a corollary to that, though, that many people forget. But even when it's pointless to measure and manage it, and even if it harms the purpose of the organization to do so, how mind-blowing is that, right? Like, this is a management guru who like talks about measurement. The key thing that I take away from that is you got to pick the right measures. This is the importance of having a dialed-in electronic health record system and having a practice management system and data collection system that works for you and for your team and for your clients. And I'm going to share another quote from Peter Drucker just to like reinforce how important culture is. Remember, he's a management guru, X's and O's, spreadsheets. And what does he say? He says, your first role as a leader is the personal one. It's the relationship with people, the development of mutual confidence, the identification of people, the creation of community. His words, this is something only you can do. It cannot be measured or easily defined. But it is not only a key function, it is the only one you can perform. This comes back to my lens of putting our team members first as we scale. That is a key component of how we can have it all. You're like, Jonathan, all right, that's all very interesting, but shut up. Like, show me the data. Has anyone seen Jerry Maguire? Am I dating myself? It's late 90s. I don't know. I'm old, but whatevs. We like one simple measure of how well we're doing for our teams. And that's called the ENPS, or Employee Net Promoter Score. It's been around for decades. And we like it for its simplicity. It's one question: how likely are you to recommend Ascend as a place to work for your family and friends? And it's just a simple 1 to 10. So that's very intuitive, right, for our team members to answer. It takes like 10 seconds when we push it out in a pulse survey. And a 9 or a 10 means that they are a net promoter. These are the ones that are going out and like actually posting on social media and getting excited. A 1 through 6 is a net detractor, and a 7 and 8, it's a push. They're not counted. And you just take the percentage of net promoters, the 9s and 10s, you subtract from that the percentage of net detractors, the 1 through 6s, and you get a score from -100 to 100. So this is what this is how we think about getting feedback from our team members. And I've showed you here a chart that healthcare industry in general, not ABA, but the entire healthcare industry is at a -6.5, and you can see a lot of the rest. And we've consistently been able to achieve in the 50s for our ENPS. By the way, there are a couple other important things we measure here. One, how many people are actually responding? Like, it's one thing if you get a 59, but are you only getting 20% of your team? So we're looking to achieve 60% plus response to indicate like there's high engagement. People are responding to those surveys. The second thing is, in any survey you do, always leave an open comment box, please. And you can make them anonymous, but give people a chance to share their feedback and or otherwise. Never lose that opportunity. And then finally, what's important, play feedback back to your teams. You always want to be describing what you heard. And if there's things you can do about pain points and challenges, great, play that back. If there's nothing you can do, tell them that. That's okay. But I think the worst thing, again, this idea of like measure for your team, not just for the sake of measurement, means playing results back to them. Lions and tigers and dashboards. Oh my, was that from Animal Crackers originally? And are there even animal crackers? And can you get those in? I don't think you can get them in 7-Eleven. I don't think my kids even know what they are. Either way, measurement is critical. And I've just done a few snapshots here, and this is all generic data. But one of the really cool things I love about one of the many cool things about Lumary is it's built on Salesforce. For those of you who don't know Salesforce, look, we all get it, and we've grown up in technology, and so there's cloud-based applications and databases and systems. Salesforce is the OG, most bomb-proof cloud-based software in the entire world, and Lumary is built on top of it. Guess what? I don't want my software to go down. That doesn't work for me. That means I can't bill as I need to. That when that happens, it means I'm missing out on data collection and important opportunities. So that was a huge thing for us, is we just wanted to be bomb-proof. 1, 2, we needed to be able to drill into our data and see snapshots at any given moment around how we're doing. Whether it's here, you see like an AR dashboard, you see like hours that we got to make up in prior month, or you see how we're doing dosage-wise, what percentage of the authorizations we're requesting are we actually fulfilling. But guess what? All of that is kind of meaningless when it's like the leadership team and me and my partners looking at this. Where does this data most need to rest? At your frontline team member level. BCBA, so they can see their caseload sizes and their metrics, all the way to RBTs. It was really important to us as we thought about a software practice management system that we needed, that data isn't held behind a curtain, but it's out there for our team to see, so we can actually, spoiler alert, act on the data that we see to continue to improve our team member experience, continue to improve clinical quality. And by the way, a Luddite like me, like I can make these reports. Not all of them. I'm not nearly that smart. But it was really important to us that those are configurable and easy to do. And so our teams have built all of these reports. It's really easy just to like drink our own Kool-Aid. But we've been huge fans over the years of external measures of quality. And I encourage every ABA organization to get accreditations, actively seek accreditation. This is part of how we make sure that others are looking at us in an objective way and confirming, is this organization committed to highest quality services? So there are many great accrediting bodies out there, including CASP's Autism Commission on Quality. There's the Behavioral Health Center of Excellence that we've chosen. We've actually been accredited going all the way back to 2018. We've been through 7 different accreditation rounds now, but it's important to us that we're not just like staring each other in the face saying, yeah, we like quality and we're all about quality, but we have someone else externally coming in objectively by a set of standards and guidelines say that, yes, this organization is committed to quality. You know, we're super proud of actually when COVID kicked in, March of 2020, we were one of the first to get telehealth accreditation. I think this was back in beginning of May 2020, and show how important it is that, you know, we can, in a quality manner while protecting our team members, provide high quality supervision. And we were the first to get what was back then BHCOE's highest accreditation, a 3-year accreditation, and telehealth accreditation in the same year. So what does accreditation mean? Accreditation is sort of like excellence. You don't just arrive there. I mean, sure, you get a badge that says you're accredited. Accreditation, like excellence, is a journey and a demonstrated commitment to ongoing continuous improvement in your processes, in clinical quality and outcomes, et cetera. So that's why we feel so passionate about it. And we talk to our teams all the time about why it's so important. Because, by the way, it's super hard to do. That's a lot. I mean, it's easy for me to say, like, let's go get accredited. But reality is it's like my teams that are, you know, putting forward the really hard work to do this. This is really cool. And this is new. Because we just started using Lumary and Hi Rasmus about a year ago. In addition to the BHCOE objective external accreditation, we were one of the first 6 ABA providers around the country at Ascend to enroll with the National Autism Data Registry. This is actually a BHCOE sponsored database. They've worked with payers, tons of external stakeholders, gotten feedback around several different cones of quality, from actual clinical outcomes to access to treatment metrics, et cetera, with the idea being that being able to aggregate all of this data and put it in one place allows anonymous benchmarking against other providers. That's a little scary. But look, like, it's not about measuring just for the sake of the numbers. It's about measuring to improve ourselves and our team. Remember coming back to that? And for us, it's like, we got to make sure we see how we stand up continuously so we can continue improving. That's part of the way you can have it all, grow and improve at the same time. And so what's really the most fun part about this, and we couldn't have done this in our other EMRs, is we actually have built into Lumary now. I mean, there's already integration between Lumary and Hi Rasmus. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. And that's seamless. But what we've built in for it's a every client record are some of our norm referenced and criterion referenced scores from things like Vineland, VB-MAP, and otherwise right into that client record, so that can push automatically out to the NADR. So that's pretty neat. And this is the forefront. Look, I think the fee-for-service model will be dead at some point in the future, right? It just misaligns incentives. That is, you bill 10 hours and then you get paid 10 hours. Like, what does that reinforce? Billing more hours. At some point, payers are going to move toward a place of, we'll pay you for quality. And so this is part of how we're trying to get ahead of the game and be ready in what I describe a value-based world, where we're paid for the quality we provide and value we deliver, as opposed to just getting paid for hours because we're billing for hours. Before I go there, we had a problem back in 2018. We were making a lot of offers to BCBAs, and we had like a 40% acceptance rate. Like, snap, what's going on? And what are we doing? Like, we're a cool organization. We've got cool values, and like, we built this team member centered organization. Yet only 40% of the offers we made were going out. We thought we were doing everything right. Like, quick interview process, just 2 rounds. It was like 30 minutes each. And so we stepped back and we took like a first principles approach to this and asked ourselves, 1, what are we really trying to do? And then 2, we looked at benchmarks across other fields outside of healthcare, even like the Googles, like high-end management consulting firms. And what did they do with their interview process? It was super freaking hard, which created this perception of, wow, like something's harder and like that's worthwhile to engage in. But we didn't want to do that. What we realized we were doing wrong, to answer our first question of first principles, is we weren't helping BCBAs contact our values. And that was critical. And so we evolved it and we said, we'll try it. And it was like, we were pretty nervous at the time, but we're like, we're gonna go from like 2 30-minute interviews or like a 30-minute, an hour interview, plus submission of a treatment sample to an initial screening interview of an hour, and then an all day grueling interview session in which they would meet the head of recruiting. They would meet their supervisor. They would meet RBT. They'd be on a panel getting interviewed by a scheduler, an RBT, a BCBA. I mean, we put them through a process. They would meet with me and or Will and or Dr. Mike. And all this was designed so that they could, it to be a two-way street. We prompted them with super hard questions. They were able to ask questions of us. And we kept coming back to to making sure they heard, not just from us or our recruiting team, but they heard directly from our team about what our values are and contacted those. Oh, by the way, little things to build trust, like asking them what their favorite hot drink was, sort of randomly in the first round of the interview process. And then when they show up that day, like that drink is there. We actually listen. Anyway, so we did that. We embarked on it. And yeah, we were at 40 to 50% in 2018 acceptance rate. And that skyrocketed after, remember, making this process more than twice as hard to a 90% acceptance rate. If you're interested in this, they actually, Stanford Graduate School of Business wrote a case study about Ascend that was published in 2022. That's really cool. So I could go on and on about this. I loved what we were doing here, but help prospective BCBAs who have every choice in the world of any ABA provider they want to go to. Help them contact your values and why you are unique and different. By the way, you know what's a really cool question to that I will challenge you all with is tell me why you are better for a family than the next ABA provider down the street. And do it in one sentence or less and show me data. Think about, can you answer that question now? And if not, how might you be able to evolve to answer that question? The other really important question I like to ask, or when I might go like visit with other ABA organizations, if I really want to know culture or want to know what things are like, I don't talk to like the owners or CEOs or C-suite or executives or even clinical directors. I want to know from like frontline team members, what behaviors get reinforced at our organization. That's one of the biggest predictors of what an organization's culture truly is. Single source of truth. I keep coming back to this term, right? Because we had so many problems before Lumary and Hi Rasmus where we were trying to get our data collection data out of those, out of our EMR. We were trying to get team member data and information out of our HRIS, Human Resource Information System. We had like a CRM, a customer relationship management, where we had all of our like clients. I mean, it was a mess. We tried building data lakes to forget all that. We needed that all in one place. And so that was part of the reason that drove us to select Lumary and Hi Rasmus. And yesterday, in fact, I was at one of our clinics here in Denver. We're entirely home-based, but we opened our first clinic in October. Yay, it was so exciting. And I don't know about y'all, but I get so much freaking energy just like being able to hang out with kiddos and with our team members. In fact, one of our little girls who was there, she's nonverbal. She has profound autism, but she does this little like head thing. When she does that, you got to go back at her. And it was just, my heart and my soul were full at the end of the day yesterday. Anyway, I was catching up with one of our BCBAs, and these are a couple screenshots from Hi Rasmus, because I was just saying, like, what do you love about Hi Rasmus? And she reinforced this idea, like up on the top left here, there's like a single source of truth for everything that happens with a client, with the data and their progress. And she can actually watch in real time. It's like her RBTs are taking data. So she's sort of getting this IOA from like at the front desk and like can see data getting taken. It's a really, really cool and neat feature. The other thing down, and there's no PHI in here, just to be clear. But the other thing down in the below right screen was being able to take ABC data. Not every system can do that. And there's really slick ways that happens here. So keep coming back to, if we want to make the most effective use of our data, it has to be easily accessible, and it has to be accessible for our frontline team members, our clinicians that are doing this hard work day in, day out. I'll share just a couple last things. This idea that communication moves at the speed of trust. I'm a huge fan of Patrick Lencioni. He's written all kinds of great books, from 5 Dysfunctions of the Team, which is a great fable. If you haven't read it, please do. But one of his books, I'll read this quote. The leader must be a constant, incessant reminder of the company's purpose, strategy, values, and priorities. You're not only the CEO, you're the CRO, Chief Reminding Officer. And for those of you who are leaders, which by the way, that's just a designated title. Forget designated leadership. I mean, every single one of us are leaders, right? Leaders are a set of behavioral skills and repertoires and actions that we take to support our team and our families. So every one of us are leaders. And I would encourage you to add on to your job description this idea of you are a chief reminding officer. It is your responsibility. It is our responsibility and our honor to be able to communicate our values and what's important to us ongoing. And so I sometimes, when I think about like, how do I think about communication responsibilities is like sort of nebulous. Like I just think about it in terms of verbs. And these are some of the verbs that I think about. And I won't read these off. What I will say, what's super cool about using Lumary is the chatter feature. So for those of you who have used Slack before, or maybe Google Chat or others, there's a built-in communication system that enables communication to move at the speed of trust. And so to this day, at Ascend, I will get on Zoom meetings and phone calls with families and talk to them about their insurance benefits. That's a really complicated part of this whole, like, how do we not just figure out living with a diagnosis and what this means for my kiddo and my family. You got to figure out insurance, right? And so I'll get on and I'll have a conversation with the family. And then I love being able to just go on to Chatter and I can tag people. Super simple. I can tag a couple different folks. Hey, make sure we send this, payment plan. Make sure we send a patient responsibility, whatever it is. And we can really easily communicate. And oh, by the way, have an audit trail of all the communication that's happened. So I was just on a meeting at the end of the day yesterday trying to figure out what had happened when intake with the family. And we can go all the way back to September or whatever, and figure out exactly every single call log, every text message that was sent, every back and forth, et cetera. So just a really cool, neat feature. I'll leave you with this. Jackie Robinson is one of my all-time heroes. He wore the number 42, which was retired in Major League Baseball a few years ago. I still wear 42 for my old man softball league. My son, Jackson, who's 13 and plays baseball, he still wears number 42. Jackson was named after Jackie Robinson. And by the way, my daughter, Clara, who's 10, was born on April 15th, which is Jackie Robinson Day in Major League Baseball. Like, oh, some things are just meant to happen in life. Anyway, Jackie Robinson has this quote: "Life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives." And that's my way of saying to each of you, thank you humbly from the bottom of my heart for impacting the lives of families with autism. That's a phenomenal honor, and it's really hard, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. That was just a wonderful presentation and so many great questions to reflect on for us as well. So thank you for that. Hold on just a second. Okay, so we are now going to shift our focus to the technology side of things. We'll be highlighting some of our cutting-edge software integration features and illustrating how they can play a pivotal role in helping your organization scale. It's not just about growth. It's about sustainable and efficient expansion while maintaining the highest clinical standards. I'd like to share that we will only be highlighting a glimpse of our integration and features. Both Hi Rasmus and Lumary have comprehensive platforms that we're happy to connect with you in the future if you want to learn more. I'm going to go ahead and let Rachel introduce herself, and then Rachel and Lexi will take over.
Thanks, Amy. And thank you, Jonathan. I want to pause for a moment and share that first. So yeah, my name is Rachel Dowse. My title at Hi Rasmus is Chief Commercial Officer and Advocate for a Million Kids. Jonathan, I really enjoyed the portion where you're talking about the Chief Reminding Officer, and that is very much built into my title, keeping our team on mission, reminding us that we're all about the learners that we serve ultimately. And we wouldn't be able to successfully serve learners without integrations with practice management solutions like the one that we have here with Lumary. So really excited to show you how our systems interact with one another. And so we're going to start on the Lumary side, and Lexi will be sharing what it looks like initially, and then we'll transition over to Hi Rasmus. So I'll throw it to you, Lexi.
I think you need to unmute, Lexi. Either on the bottom or the top. And let me see, I might be able to unmute you.
Sorry about that. My window disappeared, and despite the fact that I work for a technology company, sometimes it gets the best of me. So I am back, and apologies for that, everybody. Okay, let's see if we can get this rolling now. There we go. All right, here we go. So the first place you come to when you log into Lumary is the homepage. The homepage is a collection of reports from throughout the system, and these are all pulled together to create what we call a dashboard. The homepage dashboard is customized based on user role, and this allows each and every one of your employees throughout your organization to have all of the necessary information to be set up for success. As Jonathan mentioned, it was really important for all of his various employees to be able to see the important pieces of data relevant to them, and so this is a really great way to do that. We'll now navigate to our contact record, and we'll choose our client that we're going to work with today. What you can see here is you have the ability to create a favorites list of items from throughout the system, which really allows for ease of navigation to your assigned clients and staff. Looking at Alan's contact record, we see all of his necessary demographic information. We can view his individual schedule right here in the page, and then we can also take a look at authorizations. Now in the authorizations tab, you're seeing a historical record of authorizations for service throughout their time at your agency. When we go into Alan's current authorization, we're going to see all of the relevant details for his authorization. This includes authorization number, start and end date, and then our authorized services by code. You're able to enter these authorized services and create limitations around the usages of these codes. Ultimately, this workflow enables your organization to make sure that you're utilizing the authorization and billing according to your funder. We have navigated to our session calendar, and here we are seeing the color coding of sessions, yellow being our scheduled, not yet rendered, green are completed, and gray are our canceled sessions. When we look at this little double person icon right here, that means that there are 2 workers as a part of the session, and this typically means that a supervisor is going to be present for the session. We're going to look at Peggy's session with Alan for today. And now that our appointment is scheduled here in Lumary, it's automatically going to sync with Hi Rasmus, and Peggy is going to be set up to conduct her session. We'll move to Hi Rasmus.
All right, so Peggy logs into Hi Rasmus, and she sees all of her upcoming appointments for the day as soon as she logs in. So these have come over from Lumary. I can see I have an appointment with Alan, followed by some drive time, and then I have an appointment with Lucille later that day. I can see appointments for later in the week as well, and then I can always go to my schedule and see my appointments weekly, daily, or monthly if I want to get a bird's eye view. So let's go ahead and go to client just by clicking that button. And if I want to start my session right away, I can just hit that start session button. But I do have all of my programs that are active for that learner on that home page. And then you can have different types of sessions, including those for parents. So we have some really parent-friendly data collection forms. But I'm going to show you what it looks like from an RBT standpoint. So when they hit start session, we always take them to a preparation page. And here they can see that that session is linked to a scheduled appointment in Lumary right at the top. Then I can see a message from my supervisor with reminders, and then I can kind of dig into any programs that I'll be running and make sure that I'm prepared for them. So any programs can include instructions as well as videos or pictures and PDFs that help support those instructions. And that can be a great way just to ensure that across the board, those instructions are really clear for your staff. Once you get into your session, you'll see that I have some programs that are pinned to the top. Now, I'm using a web browser right now, but we are an app as well, and the functionality is identical on the app as it is on the web browser. Now here I'll take a little bit of data. I can always check out information from that learner, and then I can tap on any target and then select from a prompt level. Now these prompt levels are totally customizable. So everything from the text to the colors of the prompt levels to what's considered successful versus not, that's customizable across your org. Now with this behavior frequency program, you can see I can just tap on those targets to record occurrences. If I get too tap happy, I can always hit undo to retract those most recent ones, or I could do a long tap and hold to enter in a greater number of observations at once. Now we also have duration targets as well as interval programs. You can mix and match the types of targets you have within a single program too. So a lot of people love the flexibility there. Looking at this ECOICS program, you can see it's really easy for me to see which ones are in probe versus acquisition versus those that are mastered but on a maintenance schedule. And you can titrate how often those show up. Here, I'm just taking a little bit of data so you can see what that looks like. When the target turns green, that's my signal that I'm good to go. I've met the minimum number of trials to run, but I can continue running those if I see fit or clinically appropriate. Now, I can always jot down some program level notes. So maybe my learner has a loose tooth and that's impacting his ECOICS that day. I can jot that down so my BCBA can know that detail. And then I can always snap a photo or record a video in-app as well. And we do have live telehealth options as well. So you can actually do live streaming in the same place where you're taking your data. Now here I am using a session note template to start jotting down some details about my session before the very end of my session, so I don't have to remember everything that happened. So here I can start my summary, add some details, and then I can minimize that and it saves my spot. So I can always get back to that whenever there's a natural lull within my session. I can get to programs a few different ways. So there are lots of different options for navigation, and you can do whatever is your preference. Now here we have some automated prompt fading. So you can see even within session, I can fade the level of prompting, and that's very clear. And this is just another example of a different prompt level. So now that I've wrapped things up, I'll hit finish session and wrap that up. And since I already started my session note, I'm just going to pick up where I left off so I can finish that documentation, and I can pull in data from my session into my note. Now here, I'm going to adjust the time, and you can set this up. So if you want your staff to be able to adjust their start time and finish time, you can, or if you don't want them to have that permission level, you can also modify that. Now here, you'll note I'm signing off on it. It also captured my location. So we do capture geolocation and send those details over to Lumary as well. Now I can go ahead and send that over to Lumary just by hitting that send now button. And you'll note that it is linked to that appointment. So I'll just hit send now, and then it will transfer all of the actuals. So the session note, the start time, end time, everything that you need back over to Lumary. And once I've done that, I can go back to my homepage and just on to my next session. So here I see some drive time. I'm set up for success there. So back to you, Lexi, for what that looks like.
Thanks, Rachel. So you can see now that that session was completed on the Lumary end. Here we see that the session status has changed to complete. And something important to note here is that although the session was originally scheduled from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., Peggy's session ended at 1 p.m. according to her session clock in Hi Rasmus. So as Rachel said, all of those actuals are going to come over. So now the start and end times are reflected in the appointment so that they match what was captured in your session note. And this workflow makes sure that when it comes time to bill, everything is lining up accordingly across your documentation. Now, when we go into the session, we can see that it's been completed for both the employee and for the client. And again, taking note of those actuals there being reflected. We will navigate into the Documents tab, and we'll see that the session note Rachel created has been brought over to Lumary, and this is where it will live as part of the client's record. This note can easily be attached to claims or exported for auditing purposes directly from Lumary. However, any changes that need to be made to the note will occur in Hi Rasmus. If we look at the note itself, we can see everything that Rachel did on the Hi Rasmus side has come through in this PDF. Now, when it comes to these PDFs, your organization has the ability to customize the look and content of the note so that it reflects your logo, your color schemes, your desired content, and any of those customizations would be done in Hi Rasmus, and then it would pull over into Lumary. Now, once a session has been completed, it is going to create what we call a billing item. A billing item is simply a comprehensive overview of the service provided, including a newly created claim and service delivery record. As we can see, one was created for our session, and it is being billed under the default rendering provider, Brent Kirby, our BCBA. These billing rules are going to be set up at the payer level for services in accordance with each of your funding contracts. Going into the billing item, we see information regarding our rates and what is owed for this service. Here we see that a claim was automatically created and it lists out that service delivery record. So now you're able to see everything as it relates to the provision of this service. Lumary is able to automatically pull modifiers for billing based on how they're set up at the payer level, and it would be reflected here below. Now your billers have everything they need to do their workflow. Okay, and back over to you, Amy.
Awesome. Thank you, Lexi and Rachel, for sharing that demo. We are going to have time for some questions now. So if you have questions either about Lumary or Hi Rasmus and some questions for Jonathan, also, you can go ahead and put them into the Q&A or in the chat. And I think I lost my view of the questions now. So Lexi and Rachel and Jonathan, I don't know if you can see the Q&A when I shared my screen. Oh, here they are. Now I see one. Okay.
And Rachel, do you offer RBT training?
Yeah, so we do.
Or was that for Jonathan? Sorry.
Yeah. Well, so I'll speak to the Hi Rasmus side. We do have a 40-hour BST-based RBT training that can be used with your staff. And so you can actually upload videos as a trainee and get feedback on the competency areas for RBT. So lots of people really have been enjoying that. Jonathan, I don't know if you all do RBT training at Ascend. I'm assuming that you do train your incoming staff. Yeah.
We do. Yeah. Some of our biggest funding sources like Optum, United Healthcare, TRICARE, bless their hearts, require RBTs. So we made a decision very early on to get everyone their RBT, and that's gone through different iterations, but we generally give them 30 days. They got to complete the 40 hours and then do their competency checks and overlaps. So we give them 30 days to get that after joining.
All right, Lexi, it looks like there's a question regarding, let's see.
We've got two Lumary questions.
Okay.
So
absolutely.
In regards to charging, given that Lumary is a full practice management suite and not just billing, what's going to happen is you will have your user license fee for Lumary. So this is per employee billing, and that is done quarterly or yearly for contracts with Lumary. Of course, when speaking with us, we can give you what that sort of breaks down to on a monthly basis. You would be doing your own billing within Lumary, so we will not be taking a part of the remit there, and we are directly integrated with the clearinghouse. So it is up to you there. Of course, if you use an outside biller, then that's a separate contract. With regards to the second question of does Lumary have a parent text messaging function, the answer to that is yes. So you are able to text families, to text staff from within the Lumary platform, and you're able to build out automated workflows where their responses can trigger certain things happening in Lumary if that's a workflow that is going to help your business out. Thank you for those questions.
Yeah, and I want to just double click on the text messaging. Look, like no one even emails anymore these days. It's like I used what email used to be, like now text is. Like people are texting. It's a little bit of crazy world, but whatever. That's the world we live in. We use at Ascend the text messaging feature, which is an integration. And so we're doing reminders about appointments. There's parents can text with us with questions. Like that's just the way of the world. But just a really important part of that is I can't remember the name of the integration, but Salesforce, because Lumary is built on Salesforce, has like 1,000,001 different little kinds of applications built on it. As an example, FormStack is like a DocuSign, and you do all your forms electronically within it. That's what we use. So it's really cool just to like all of the data and all of these apps that have already been built and plug into the platform, you can just turn on and have access to. So we've been using that text messaging feature and been very, very happy with it.
Rachel, do you want to take the question?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the question is there a parent signature option in Hi Rasmus on the session note? And then also which program handles the EVV? So regarding the parent signature component, yes, for session notes, you can require signatures from a variety of different users. So you could have a required signature, obviously, from the clinician who's rendering the work. And then you can have a required signature for parents, for supervisors, et cetera. So until all of those required signatures are met, typically you can't send those notes over to Lumary and bill for them accordingly. You can also, as far as the EVV is concerned, on Hi Rasmus, we do capture the location at start, end, and at the time of signature. And then we send those actuals over to Lumary. So that's kind of how the EVV functionality works. I don't know if
and then to pick up, picking up on that, once those actuals are received by Lumary, Lumary has a direct integration with SANdata for our folks out in Colorado, which allows you to then send all of that directly from Lumary to SANdata without having to do sort of any of the manual steps or logging directly into SANdata. So again, it is through that integration, through that partnership, that everything is going to flow. So we can take care of our customers with those EVV requirements.
Can I just peel one more layer of the onion back on that? You know, when we were going through the sales process with Lumary and Hi Rasmus, like I remember folks say, look, we believe in, you know, building relationships with providers for life. And I was like, skeptical eye. Everyone says that, especially every salesperson. But it like that really resonated with Ascend. One of our core values is authentic relationships. And we truly believe that. And to Lumary's great credit, when the product was released, we were one of the earlier adopters. When the product was released, there was not that tie back into the EVV system here in Colorado. By the way, EVV, electronic visit verification, Colorado is the only state in the country to require that for ABA providers for home-based services. I think it's going to be happening soon for California, and it's going to happen across all those states. It's basically meant to reduce fraud. So if you don't have it in your state yet, you better start getting ready for it because it'll happen at some point in the coming few years. And to Lumary's great credit, they built that SANdata integration, and that captures those 6 data points seamlessly from Hi Rasmus to make sure that when we submit claims, those critical data points, including lat long, client name, time of service, start and end time, et cetera, allow us to actually get paid for the claims we're submitting. So we were like, all right, maybe you really do believe in creating, like building authentic relationships for life like we do. That was a really cool moment.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Jonathan. Okay. We also wanted to share a special deal with all of you. When you sign up for both Hi Rasmus and Lumary, you will receive a free upgrade to Premium on Hi Rasmus for a year. Premium includes pre-made programs available in your content library, live supervision and telehealth features, and so much more. And if you want to learn more, you can check out our websites to to book a full demo to see each platform and how it can help you. And let's stay connected. You can always also feel free to email me directly and follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook for future events. Thank you so much for spending time to learn and grow with us today.